Welcome to Kanerika's podcast, The Digital Shift.
This is the deep dive where we break down major enterprise challenges. We want to give you the strategic clarity, the timeline, and really the solution you need to stay ahead.
And today we are talking about a big one, a mandatory modernization challenge that is fast approaching a hard deadline for so many companies. We're talking about the shift away from legacy tools, specifically Crystal Reports, to modern platforms like Microsoft Power BI.
Right. And our goal today is to give you that full picture. We need to lay out the timeline because time is genuinely running out.
It is.
And we have to highlight the risks of, doing nothing. But most importantly, we want to talk about the solution that can turn a huge technical headache into a really fast, manageable digital shift.
Okay, let's start there with the urgent clock. SAP has been signaling this for a while, but the timeline, it's not some far-off date anymore, is it?
Not at all. That's the key thing everyone needs to understand. The clock is ticking and fast. The big one, the critical deadline, is the end of mainstream maintenance for Crystal Reports 2025. That is officially December 31st, 2027.
And let's put that in perspective. It's the start of 2026 now, so 2027 is just next year.
Exactly. It's just next year now. In enterprise planning terms, that's basically tomorrow. You should be deep into planning already.
Right.
And this isn't a surprise. The writing has been on the wall for a while. Priority 1 support for Crystal Reports 2016, that ended back at the end of 2024. And for the 2020 version, mainstream maintenance for that ends at the end of this year, December 31st, 2026.
So the precedent is clearly set. Okay, so what if a company just waits? They run on unsupported software after these deadlines. What are the real bottom line consequences?
It's pretty serious. It goes way beyond just missing a few new features. There are 3 big risks. First, and this is the most critical, security vulnerabilities. Once maintenance ends, the patches stop. So any new security flaw that gets discovered, and they always do, becomes a permanent, unfixable hole in your system.
You're just exposed.
Completely exposed. We're talking about a serious risk of a data breach. And what about internal stability?
That's the second risk, isn't it? Compliance and stability.
It is. Over time, your old software just won't play nicely with new systems. It'll start clashing with new operating systems, database upgrades, security protocols, and that leads to crashes, bad data, and a real nightmare for meeting any kind of regulatory compliance.
So your IT team ends up spending all its time just fighting fires instead of innovating.
That's the third risk, perfectly put, competitive disadvantage. While your competition is using interactive real-time tools, your team is stuck troubleshooting broken reports. You're making decisions based on old data with tools from the 90s. You're always a step behind.
The case for modernizing is pretty undeniable then. So let's pivot to the solution. Let's talk about Power BI and why it's such a game changer here.
Well, you have to remember what Crystal Reports was built for. It was for a different time, the era of, static printed reports.
A fixed layout.
Exactly. Think of it like a perfectly organized but very rigid filing cabinet. If you want something new, a different view of the data, you have to file a ticket and wait for a developer to go and build it for you.
And that model is just not sustainable anymore with the speed of business today.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It also just struggles with large data sets. It gets slow. The logic is all locked inside the report file itself. When you compare that to a cloud-native platform like Power BI, the advantages are just crystal clear.
So let's break those down. What are the core advantages that make this migration a strategic move, not just a technical chore?
Okay, number 1 is real-time data and interactivity. Power BI is built for automatic data refreshes. And crucially, any user can filter, slice, and drill down into the data themselves.
So no more IT tickets just to see the data a different way?
Exactly. The time from question to insight goes from days to seconds. That's huge. Second is cloud integration and scalability.
It just fits into the modern enterprise ecosystem.
Perfectly. It works seamlessly with Microsoft 365, Azure, hundreds of data sources. And scaling up doesn't mean buying new servers. It's just a simple licensing change in the cloud.
And for collaboration, with teams spread out everywhere now.
That's number 3, mobility and collaboration. Power BI reports work on any device, and you share them with a live link, not by emailing static, insecure PDF files around. Everyone is always looking at the one single source of truth.
And finally, the one that every CFO wants to hear, cost.
Right. The fourth point is long-term cost efficiency. You get rid of separate Crystal Reports licensing, you cut down on maintenance hours, and your IT team is freed up to work on things that actually drive the business forward.
Okay, so the destination is clear. Power BI is the way to go. The deadline is urgent 2027. But this migration process itself, that's where things get really tricky. It's not a simple file conversion, is it?
Not even close. This is the single biggest bottleneck. Manual migration projects fail, or they drag on forever, because the complexity that's hidden inside those old Crystal Reports files.
What kind of complexity?
Years and years of embedded business logic. We're talking about complex formulas, conditional formatting, custom rules that were coded directly into the reports. All of that knowledge has to be preserved.
And you can't just copy and paste that code.
You can't. That's the syntax conversion nightmare. Crystal Reports uses its own language. Power BI uses a totally different one called DAX. It's a completely different way of thinking about data.
It sounds less like translating Spanish to French and more like translating a paper map into a live GPS system.
That is a perfect analogy. The underlying logic is fundamentally different, and that explains the statistic we see all the time. For a medium-sized company, a manual migration takes, on average, 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months.
And often longer. And during that entire time, you're paying to maintain both systems. You're paying expensive developers to do tedious, repetitive conversion work. It's a trap.
This sounds like a problem that just isn't built for a manual human solution. It screams for automation.
It does. And that's exactly where we at Kanerika focused our efforts. We saw this technical bottleneck, this conversion nightmare, and realized it was the single biggest thing holding companies back. So we built a solution to remove that pain point.
And that solution is FLFP.
Yes, FLIP is our Intelligent Migration Accelerator. It's engineered specifically to automate the conversion of Crystal Reports into interactive, fully functional Power BI dashboards. And this is part of our broader focus. We have a whole suite of services around AI, data governance, and migration, with accelerators for all kinds of platforms like Cognos or SSRS to Power BI.
So walk us through it. How does FLP actually solve that conversion nightmare that trips up so many manual projects?
It follows a really logical, automated process. Step one is automated source analysis. FLIP scans all of your Crystal Reports, hundreds of them, and it digitally reverse engineers them. It extracts all the formatting, the logic, the parameters, everything.
So it creates a blueprint of every report. Then what about the code?
That's step two, the intelligent syntax processing. This is the magic. It uses advanced algorithms to decode all those embedded formulas, and it automatically translates the Crystal syntax directly into the equivalent DAX language for Power BI.
So it does that map to GPS translation automatically?
In seconds. And with perfect consistency, it removes the human error. And then step three is Power BI file creation. FLFP automatically builds the new Power BI project files, sets up the data models, the visuals, everything. You just point it at your source to find the target, and it processes hundreds of reports at once.
The impact of that must be huge. What are the quantifiable benefits? Give us the numbers.
The benefits are massive, and they center on speed, cost, and quality. First, speed. FLIP takes that typical 6 to 12-month manual timeline and crushes it down to just a few weeks.
Weeks instead of months. That's a game changer for hitting that 2027 deadline.
It is. And that speed directly impacts the cost. We see cost reductions of up to 70%.
70%?
Yes. Because you're eliminating thousands of hours of expensive manual developer work and debugging. And finally, you get consistency and quality. The automation ensures every report is converted to the same high standard, and all of that critical business logic you've built over decades is preserved perfectly.
So you don't just meet the deadline, you actually end up with a better, more reliable, and more powerful analytics system.
A fully modernized system that future-proofs your entire analytics capability.
The 2027 deadline is right around the corner. For anyone listening, what are the immediate first steps they should be taking right now?
First, you have to assess your current environment. Do a full inventory of your Crystal Reports. Figure out which ones are mission critical and which ones are obsolete and can just be retired.
Don't migrate what you don't need.
Exactly. Prioritize. Then build a phased timeline. Don't try to do it all at once, and leave yourself a buffer before that 2027 date. Finally, prepare your team. Start training them on Power BI and DAX now.
It feels like this is about more than just swapping out one piece of software for another.
It is. That's the big picture. This migration isn't just a technical task. It's a strategic opportunity to future-proof how your entire organization uses data. We at Kanerika believe that by automating this crucial step with FLIP, we help companies unlock that potential much, much faster than they ever thought possible.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to take away from this. The goal isn't just to survive the retirement of Crystal Reports. It's to use this transition as a catalyst. So what critical business questions could you answer today, right now, if all your reporting was instantly interactive and cloud-ready?
We at Kanerika believe the time for that digital shift is now. The path is ready.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a really critical digital shift. We hope you feel ready to meet that 2027 deadline head-on.